and welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, and as always, we remain committed to educating, enlightening, and empowering our viewers, not only on money issues, but all the things pertaining to life and living a vibrant and vital and enduring life. Today is no exception. I have an extraordinary guest. He's not new to the set, but we're going to be talking about a subject that is certainly going to capture your attention for the next hour. And that has to deal with personal relationships. Yeah, male, female, children. My goodness, it's such a wide definition, but one that is just so totally misunderstood by so many people, and we just don't seem to do a good job of it. For whatever reason, we just mess it up. So, as my guest, I have Pastor, Apostle Dennis Hattchett in a different role because he is a relationship expert, in my opinion, and he has been very, very helpful to me in helping me to grow up as a female and to begin to have an understanding on some areas of relationship that I can do better. So today's show is going to be on personal relationships, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll see where we go with that topic. How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are
Oh
you,
my
Michelle?
goodness. Great. Tell everybody about yourself.
Oh, tell everybody about
Well, yeah,
myself.
give them some history, for people that's tuning in.
I've been dealing with relationships and the issues of relationships for 29 years.
Oh my goodness.
And
That's too long.
well, it's been a long journey.
Yeah, I'm sure it has.
But I told my mother 29 years ago, because we were talking about the dysfunction, the diseases, the arguments, and the compatibility, the confrontation, the confusion. And I told her 29 years ago, I said, Mama, the buck stops here, because I'm not having it.
I hear you.
And I refused to receive it. I refused to let it be a part of who I was. And I told her, I said, I am not going to grow up and live the life my dad lived. I'm not going to do that. I refuse. And
now, what was the life your dad lived?
well, my dad was a hard-working individual, but he was self-consumed, self-absorbed, and selfish. And he didn't care about too much of anything else other than him. And it wasn't anything that he hid or covered up. He
didn't care.
No, he didn't. He didn't. And the thing is, I honor my dad and who he was and what he did. I said, because if he hadn't been the person he was, then I wouldn't be who I am. But the life that he had and to leave here the way he did by himself, lonely, and no friends, no nothing. I'm like, I'm sorry. It's not supposed to end that way.
And was he a minister?
He was a pastor.
Oh my goodness.
He was a pastor. He was a pastor. Reverend Pastor Nolan Hattchett. I'm like, hey. But I told Mama, I said, Mama, there's more to it than this.
Yes.
For all that he presented, I'm sorry, this is not all that there is. And I told her I refuse to settle for the fact that the generational stuff that's just handed down just keeps being received and passed down again.
Without someone saying, halt,
exactly.
Time out.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
I'm in that enough is enough season. I am. I'm like, enough.
But you know what? There's a whole lot of people in that enough is enough season.
Really?
That's why we're on this show. That's why we had the show.
Oh my goodness.
Because if there wasn't a need for answers, if there weren't questions that weren't being answered, then we wouldn't be here. But the fact that God has graced us and blessed us with the ability to answer these questions and bring resolution to tough situations and circumstances, it's a blessing all within itself.
You know what? That is an absolutely insightful way of looking at this, because the majority of people that I know that are in relationships in terms of male, female, are not happy.
No, they're not.
I'm just being transparent here. They're not happy.
No, they're not.
And yeah, viewers, I said it. Can I have a close-up, please, Ben? They're not happy. Now, the question is, why?
Well, in most cases, when we talk about relationship, the thing that's left out, forgotten, overlooked, and not even perceived to be important and significant is the fact that relationship starts with you. We always go into the relationship looking for someone to complete us, looking for someone else to make us happy, looking for someone else. All of those responsibilities are within you.
But we've been told that that's the reason that you hook up.
Well, yeah,
Is so
that's
that
what we've
you
been
can be
told.
Complete. Now, I don't know where this came from. Is that biblically sound?
Well, there is Bible to support it.
Okay.
But the thing is, our Father created us to be together. He created us to have relationship. The only purpose He created us for was so that He could have a family to have relationship with.
That's good.
So He created us for relationship. We were bred for relationship. Our DNA is about relationship. Everything that we've been given by the Father is not for us. It's for someone else. And it's the interactive exchange, which is what relationship is, an interactive exchange.
An interactive exchange. Okay.
Me giving to you, you giving back to me giving to you, you giving back to me, we giving to each other, and having the ability to openly receive and appreciate and value the things that are being given so that we come to a place of formulating the reciprocative aspect of giving back in a way that someone else can value and appreciate.
But let's go back to when you were talking about it begins with you. What's going on inside of you?
Absolutely.
What is going on?
Well, in a lot of instances, there's a lack of identification for knowing who you are. You don't really have a true identified value system of your own. You don't have things that you have sacrificed and given for, because the thing we talk about when we talk about life, there's things that we come to value because of where we come from, what we've been exposed to, things that have been given to our lives. Well, when we have values for certain things and we have a value system that evolves from the things we value, we usually end up incorporating somebody into our system that has no value for the things we have value for.
Oh my goodness. That is absolutely true. And you incorporate them in because you don't know that they need to have similar values.
An individual that doesn't have similar values won't take care of the things you value. And when they start abusing and disrespecting the things that you value, the reality of the matter is they're going to abuse and disrespect you as well.
That seems so matter of fact.
It is. It is.
It is. I'm
it's
just
so
saying
simple.
this.
It's so simple. We
matter
miss
of
it.
fact.
It's so simple. We miss it.
So does that go back to what the scriptures say about how can two walk together unless they be in agreement?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing is, in a lot of instances, our value system is formulated by systematic things like TV.
Excuse me.
TV and radio and the things we see in the media. And we tend to have a gravitation to go pursue those things, seek after those things.
But
and none of those things
it's
happen
not
to
the
fit.
truth, though.
No, and they don't fit inside the value system that we've established either.
Tell me more.
We have established a value system where we come to say, okay, just you and me, for instance.
Okay.
We don't eat meat.
Nope.
So now we value life.
Yep.
So those individuals that haven't come to that place to understand that meat is death and it causes death and creates death and disease and everything else that comes along with it. But those folks that don't have that value, that are mass consumers of meat, their value system is entirely different. So they look down on us that don't eat it because, well, you don't eat it. And they look down on us like something's wrong with us.
You're telling the truth.
So then,
Oink, oink.
but
Okay.
that reality is like sevenfold, because the same way that they don't value life in that regard, they don't value relationships in that same regard. They don't value intimacy in the same regard. They don't value finance in the same regard. That mindset
It's a mindset.
Exactly. That
Okay, I got
mindset
it.
is totally contrary to the mindset that we have. But when we come into relationships, we don't ever evaluate the mindset
Yes.
that we're exposing ourselves to. And let's be facetious about the examples. If you hang around 6 broke folks, you'll soon be the 7th. If you hang around 6 crazy people, you will soon be the 7th. If you hang around energetic, outgoing people, you will soon become energetic and outgoing. Whatever we surround ourselves with becomes the influencing factors for the frame of our lives. If
My
it doesn't fit
God.
inside our value system, which most times it doesn't, then there's a conflict within, because now we're dealing with this value system that we have a value for, but we're trying to deal with this individual in an entirely different value system that really doesn't match up with ours. And we spend years trying to figure out, well, how are we going to interact together, and how are we going to come together? Because the only thing we have in common is when we turn the lights out and go to bed. Taking that element out of the equation, what do we do the other 16 hours of the day?
Yeah.
And that 16 hours of the day is usually spent battling back and forth, you trying to hold on to your value system, they trying to detoxify your system into theirs, and they're trying to incorporate you back into this system. They're trying to influence you to do the things that they do, and as opposed to coming to understand the importance of why you do the things that you do. And it's a constant battle back and forth, and no one ever gets anywhere until somebody gets tired of being tired. And once that person gets tired of being tired, it's like, you know what, this really ain't working, goodbye.
And you think about the time invested in a process that was doomed from the beginning. Is that what I can conclude?
Absolutely.
It was doomed from the beginning.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because you cannot change another person's value set.
You cannot change another person, period.
Woo!
The only thing you can change in this life is yourself. You can influence change by the changes that you've made, and the consistency in which you live those changes by. But you can't change anybody. And to have a belief or a thought, and most people have that misconceived thought that, oh, I can change them. Just give me 2 years, I'll change them. And at the end of the 2 years, you're so frustrated you can't see straight.
Howling at the moon. Howling at the moon.
Because the interesting thing that's not understood, if the individual you call yourself trying to change hasn't come to the table and said, I submit, here, change me, help me grow, you're fighting a battle you are not going to win.
Woo.
Because this individual is locked into who they are, you're locked into who you are,
and it
it's
cannot be.
It's nothing but a confrontation repetitively on every level when it comes to simple things, just as simple as buying grocery. There's a conflict in buying grocery because you go to the grocery store and you gravitate to these things in the car, and he gravitates to these things, and you're like, I don't want that in.
And there you go.
And it just keeps rolling over and over and over again, because the same thing is true when you talk about his friends. And then you talk about your friends. Because your friends are like-minded in the realm in which you have value systems established for. His friends are in alignment with his value systems.
So hypothetically, because I don't do sports, to watch them. I like to play sports, but I don't like to watch them, view them. And I'm not caught up in football. I don't knock it, basketball. I don't care, you know, but I prefer to do other things with my time.
I agree. I agree.
But if you are in say you're exploring a situation, and you know that this person of interest is completely and totally consumed by sports. In any venue, he'll watch ESPN every day, 24/7, and you prefer to do other things, maybe more altruistic. How does that work?
Well, it's a struggle, because this individual that wants ESPN 24 hours a day, He's an individual that is locked into the world system, and he wants to be entertained.
Okay.
His biggest thing is he wants to be entertained.
So he goes to work and he watches sports.
And he wants to be entertained.
He wants to be entertained.
And because that entertainment also feeds his intellectual exchanges, because now when he gets with his friends, all they talk about is football.
Right.
All they talk about is sports. All they talk about is what was on ESPN. So and it becomes a cycle of life for them. And how do you incorporate somebody else in a cycle that really is not attracted to the cycle? You don't. They usually get left out. And that leaving out sends a whole nother message to the dynamics of the relationship. Because now you're being entertained and spending this interactive time with your friends talking about sports is the most valuable thing in your life, then how valuable am I? Exactly. Yeah. And the thing that I tell guys, I used to love sports too. I played, loved them, watched them all the time. But when you become one, the Bible says that we leave our mothers and fathers and cleave to our wives. 1 Corinthians 13 says, when I was a child, I spake as a child, understood as a child, and thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. When we talk about relationship is something that is geared toward two individuals interactively exchanging. So now I'm giving to you, you're giving to me, you're giving, I'm giving, we're giving, we're giving. So now, when does the process of sacrifice come into that equation? Because the thing is, if she's supposed to be your other half, if she's supposed to be your completion, everything should revolve around her. Not the football game and not the basketball game.
Now there are men officially leaving this television station right now.
No, they're looking at me like I'm 14 karat crazy. But the reality of the matter is, if your wife does not become the most significant entity in your life and existence, you missed the mark already. Because the greatest gift God gave us
as men
is you.
I totally agree.
And if we don't treat you all like the gift that you are, if we don't value you as the gifts and the queens that you are, then do we really know who we are? Because a true king values his queen, feeds his queen, raises up his queen, encourages his queen, molds and shapes his queen to be all that she can be in her. Because the greater he makes her, the greater she is for him.
Oh my goodness. I need to put you on a speaking circuit, because I believe this is where this completely implodes.
It is.
I mean, I'm just sitting here going through my little mental Rolodex of people and couples, and the fact that even in social context, the men gather in a huddle. Yeah, I mean, you go to any kind of an event, they all huddle, and the women huddle together. The men talk about sports and money, and the women talk about babies and children. And I got into trouble because I didn't want to talk about babies and children. I wanted to talk about money.
Exactly.
And I remember distinctly being told, you are not welcome over here. Do you see any other women over here besides you? And I'm like, no. And they said, get on over there and make yourself friendly with those women. And that just kind of bothered me. But I guess people have come to a place where they recognize that that is necessary to maintain the peace. Is that what happens?
In most of those instances, yes. They do what they need to do to keep the peace, and they call themselves keeping the peace, but it's really not peace.
But it's not peace. What is that called?
It's a false sense of peace.
It's a false sense of peace.
Absolutely. And the thing is, because if you don't have peace in the reality that they're going to talk about football, they're going to talk about sports and money, and we're going to talk about the children and kids and our activities wrapped around the kids and our schedules. If that's how you want your social expression to be evaluated, if that's the kind of social expression you want to be a part of and be fixed in and locked in, then so be it. But the thing is, my thing is, The Bible tells me to come out from them and be ye separate.
Oh my goodness.
So when you
That's
come out,
the end of the party.
so when you come out and be ye separate,
Oh God.
you have the opportunity to establish a whole nother social structure. And you can take and say, okay, you know what, as opposed to me gravitating over here to the guys and you gravitating over here to the girls, we're going to get a table and we're going to sit together and we're going to socialize together. We're going to interact together. We're going to show them something that they don't know nothing about. And we're going to do this together. And if they criticize it too much, too drastically, well, we're going to take ours and go somewhere else. Exactly. But the thing that has to happen when we talk about relationships, there has to be values. There has to be borders and parameters that protect those values.
Okay.
And there has to be a mindset of like-mindedness, because the thing is, it's not so much about him being locked into football and loving football, but the thing is, do I love football enough to the point where it overshadows how much I love and express my love to my wife? Or does my wife have something that she loves? Like, let's say you like tennis or whatever. Do I spend an equal amount of time doing the things my wife enjoys doing while I'm asking her to come over here and spend time with me doing the things I like to do? Because I give you a hypothetical example. One of my exes loved to skate.
Okay.
I didn't skate.
Okay.
I bowl.
Okay.
She came to support me when I went out of town to bowl. And so whenever she went skating, I was there.
You were there to support her.
Exactly. I probably playing video games and something else.
But you were there.
Exactly.
The physical presence was there.
Exactly. So now I spent time with her doing the things that she enjoyed doing. So then when it came time for me to do the things that I enjoyed doing, she didn't mind being there. Why? Because I was there to support her, just as she's there to support me. And the thing that men don't understand, whatsoever you sow, so that shall you reap. So if you're sowing the support and the value of what she values and participates in, then she'll in turn reciprocate that value in the things that you have that are significant and important for you. But that part of the giving process is always lost because selfishness locks in and say, I, and then you get I, and then you got the two I's going at it. And it's like, okay, and you call that relationship.
Right.
Relationship doesn't start until I leaves the room.
That is very powerful what you're saying, and I think that for many people, the most challenging area is going to be the realization that they have failed to do a self-evaluation, that their failure to look at themselves openly and objectively has allowed them to suck into their space people that there could not ever be a fit. Is that a fair statement?
Well, it's true, but it's bigger than that, though.
Okay, we'll take it there.
Because the thing is, I'm gonna put this on the table for an example. When we talk about love, normally we associate love with compassion and sensitivity.
Right, caring.
If we take compassion and sensitivity and we apply it to every circumstance, you're gonna find yourself being taken advantage of, abused, and manipulated. Because those individuals that aren't really acclimated to flow in that vein,
right,
they operate a different way, and they're going to do things a different way, and they're going to manipulate your sensitivities and your compassion to still ultimately get what they want.
Right.
And in the process, it's an open door of vulnerability. And when we have those open doors of vulnerability, because the thing is, the compassion and sensitivity factor of love is great.
Right.
But if it's not balanced with responsibility and accountability and a sternness to balance the two.
Right.
If they're not balanced, the overusage of one or the other causes abuse.
Woo-wee.
Because Miles Monroe said it this way: until the purpose of a thing is understood, abuse is inevitable.
My goodness.
So if you don't understand that sometimes you can't take compassion and sensitivity and deal with this irate situation over here where somebody is totally off the chain and I'm sorry, you might think it's going to calm them down. No.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes to a place where we talk about being multiple language speaking individuals, where we all speak the same language, but it's different degrees of the same language. Because you
Right.
can have this compassion and sensitivity that says, well, you know, all we have to do is love somebody and everything is gonna be all right. But
Sorry.
then I'm sorry, over here on this other hand, sometimes somebody has to say, listen, stop.
Right.
Your stuff
Enough.
stinks, and we need to make some adjustments in this program because this ain't right. Because what you're doing works fine for you, but you're not the only one in the room.
Well, see, that's why I look at the culture today, um, and I'm extremely concerned. And I say this because we're at a tipping point in terms of where people are in their relationships. I just read where the largest enrollment class at, I think, Yale was a course on happiness. People know they're not getting it right, but they don't know why.
Exactly.
I mean, we can say you need to have, well, this is the way I was taught. You want to make sure that you have a good man. That's what your mother's taught you. You want a good man. What does that mean?
Like I say, what is the definition
What
of a good
is the
man?
definition of a good man, and where does that come out of? What is the filtering behind that definition? One mother's definition of a good man may be for her, because she didn't have a husband, that the man your daughter gets, if he's at home, if he stays at home, and he doesn't sleep around, that's a good man. Now, he may be absent emotionally, but you got him. But you see what I'm saying? And then another person may say, well, this is a good man. He's got these degrees, he makes money, blah, blah. But he may be an abuser. But he is offering you stability, financial stability, and community status, but he's beating your tail behind the doors. Okay, but the family says that's okay.
Because he's taking care of all these other things.
Because he's taking care of all these other things. Where is the balance?
The thing is, it goes back to what I said at the beginning, that relationship starts with you.
Okay.
So now, let's say that you as an individual, you establish the fact that I enjoy eating out, but I enjoy eating healthy food when I eat out. So now, if I'm going to eat healthy food when I eat out, this is the thing that I like. This is the thing that I live for. And this is the foundational structure of my life, is what I eat. In order to have someone compliment that, they have to have a respect and an honor for that. Anybody outside of the realm of this scope is never going to fit the category of being a good man. I don't care what else he brings to the table. If he doesn't value the things you value, if he doesn't live for the things you live for, he's never going to still fit the category of a good man, because there are good things that people do. Just because they're good things that people do don't make them good men. The fact that you go to work and pay the bills don't make you a good man. It makes you responsible, but it doesn't make you
You're
a good man.
That is so important. I'm telling you, where we are today in terms of our culture, where you don't even know what the value set of a person is until many times you've crossed over, you've violated boundaries, and now you're actually connected to them sexually and otherwise. Then all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, I am involved with a person that I don't know at all.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's the thing that's the thing that I'm speaking to when I said it starts
Inside.
here. It starts with you, because the thing is,
I don't mean to interrupt, but does that mean that if you know how you're wired, and that person, where's the room? Is there room for compromise, or do you just find your own tribe and call it a day?
no, there is no such thing as compromise. This is the thing.
Oh my gosh, somebody needs to hear. Did you all hear what he just said?
There's no room for compromise. Compromise is not an option. No, it's not one of the things
Okay.
we do. This is the thing. The Bible says, God said, I come that you have life and that more abundantly.
Yes.
So if you have your value system established and the individual that comes into your life is not adding to your value system, I'm sorry, he just disqualified himself. If you have a desire and a like for things a certain way and they don't have a value for the way you like things and come in and show you how to make that value system you have better, if they can't improve the things that you have, if they can't make them better, if they can't make you better, they just disqualify themselves as being a good man. Because a good man is going to make any situation or circumstance in your life better. It doesn't matter, because the thing is, and I had this conversation with my daughter, because she said, well, I don't like this, and I don't like, I said, listen, I said, life is full of those things that we don't like. I said, but as a responsible individual, there are a lot of things that we do that we don't like. Why? I told her plain and simple. I said, I've been working in my job 37 years now, and I don't like going there, but I like sleeping indoors.
Yes.
So,
because homelessness is real.
And I tell individuals when it comes to the ministry, and in most cases, I'm not doing what I want to do. I'm doing what I have to. When we put down childish things, putting down of childish things means now I do what's necessary and required. The childish things is I want to do what I want to do. And how many of us are in relationships with people that want to do what they want to do and they really don't care. And they don't care about nothing else.
Don't care. And so you wind up looking at relationships that cannot work, period.
Won't ever work.
Won't ever work.
That's the thing. That's the thing I'm speaking to. It starts within you, because when you come to understand your value system, when you come to understand what's significant and what's important and what makes your clock tick, then your view out should be similar to your view in. And if you don't see those things outwardly that you have and possess inwardly, and you bring somebody else in that doesn't have the same view, I'm sorry, you just set yourself up for destruction, because they are going to dismantle and destroy everything that you value along with you. And once you get to that place of desolation where you've had all you could have,
I can't take no more.
You stood all you can stand, you can't stand no more. It's like, well, my thing is, why invite someone into your inner circle that doesn't qualify themselves as being an individual that can add to your circle? Because if I can't add to your inner circle, I don't deserve to be there. And that's the whole purpose for having relationship. Relationships are for individuals to come together and create something greater than they had when they were by themselves.
Or else what's the point?
Exactly. So if he's not coming in to make your life better, if he's not showing himself consistent to improving the circumstances and situations in your life, if he's not showing yourself to be an open, creative-minded individual that looks beyond the circumstance to see something greater and makes adjustments and plans to get beyond those circumstances or issues, I'm sorry, that's the definition of a good man. Somebody that is proactively thinking beyond the demographics of what he needs to supplying your needs, exceeding and abundant. Because if he's not, well, I'll say it this way. The Bible, the Bible describes God as being exceeding and abundant above all you can think or ask.
Yes.
So now he also said, I made you in my likeness and his image. So if this man coming into your life is not exceeding and abundant above all you can think or ask, he ain't the one. If he cannot, the Bible says that God said, I will supply all of your needs according to my riches and glory through Christ Jesus. If that man cannot say, I will supply all of your needs according to my riches and glory through Christ Jesus, he just disqualified himself from being a good man, because the role, the model, and the idea of a good man is already established in Christ. And if the man is not modeling himself to walk in the shadow of Christ, to walk in the emulation of Christ, if he's not trying to reproduce who Christ was in your life, then I'm sorry, good man, no. He's a man that does good things. But a good man does it all. Because the thing is, he leaves nothing to chance. And his only objective is to make sure at the end of the day, you're happy. You're satisfied.
May I say something, viewers? Don't get your little antennas up, because this man has got a beautiful wife. Okay, because I know what you're thinking, which is, oh my God, Eureka! God done show me my husband. No, This man is already married, and she's a bomb. I'm not kidding you. She's a tough lady. So I'm just wanting to clear the air so that you can sit back and listen attentively without the seducing spirit coming into your thought and saying, oh, God had me look at this man. He's not your man. God's got one for you when you're ready to receive him.
But you know what? When you speak to that, I'll say this. Paul said, God has made me all things for all people.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, where I'm not your husband, I could be the figure of the husband you need. So when you come to understand how that man operates,
Mm-hmm.
when you understand how his value system is
Mm-hmm.
established, when you understand the character that he possesses, when you understand the priorities that he lives by, when you come to understand all those things, now you can take all those things and say, this is what I look for in a man.
And a man.
And because the thing is, and the thing that women don't understand, the sooner you all collectively come together and hold true to the standard, men across this country will start waking up and getting up. But as long as you all keep settling for whatever they give you, I'm sorry, it's just going to keep on getting worse. So the thing is, and I say it to individuals.
Okay.
This is an individual thing because the same thing is true for men. If we as men live this grand standard,
yes,
but then we let these women come in that want to squander everything and take advantage of everything and abuse everything, we're just as guilty as the other side around. So the thing that I say on both sides of the scale, we have to come to a place of peace within ourselves.
Okay,
we have to have
within.
relationship with ourselves. We have to be content with ourselves. We have to be happy, joyful, and fulfilled in ourselves.
First.
Because no one can fulfill you if you're not already fulfilled. Because it's like a bucket with a hole in it.
Right.
They can pour all the water they want in your bucket, and it never fills up. But if you're not at peace and contentment with yourself, if you're not happy with yourself and something that somebody brings you does not now classify as the addition, now he's adding extra. Now he's exceeding my expectations because I have met my expectations. Now everything he adds exceeds my expectations. And I said, and if that woman is not secure in herself, she makes his job so much more difficult than it has to be, because now he's trying to not only exceed your expectations, but he's trying to patch up the holes in the bucket.
The bucket holes.
So, but the thing that's not understood, the more time he spends patching the holes in your bucket, the less time he spends being attentive to the things that made him who he is. So he slowly starts to decline out of the man that he is, and he starts becoming something that, well, you weren't this at the beginning, but he wasn't that at the beginning because he's now adapted himself. He has adapted himself to your garbage, and he's trying to clean up your garbage. And then the thing that makes it difficult in the matter is most people don't understand that their bucket is full of garbage, and they fight to hold on to their garbage. He's trying to help renew the garbage. He's trying to realign the garbage, but you want to hold on to it, and you fight him in the process, and then you wonder why at some point he ends up, you come home and he done packed up everything and he's gone, and you still sitting there by yourself. But the thing is, it all starts within. It all starts with you. And whatever you can't establish within yourself, or I'll say it this way, anything that you have a value for outside of you, create it in you. Because when you create it in you, now you have an understanding of the values and the sacrifice that was necessary to establish this thing. So then when somebody brings you those things at a greater capacity, now you have an understanding of the sacrifice and the commitment.
Appreciation.
Exactly. And when you have a general appreciation, that general appreciation becomes a grand appreciation, because now you just brought something general with something general, and the two generals came together and created something far more greater than they could even perceive in their minds before they started. Because I always thought that this was it, and I always thought this was it, but since I met you, it's like, wow. If that is not a common spoken sentence in your relationship, somebody in the relationship is missing it.
Well, I wanted to, on the subject of getting in touch with you, and I must say, I'm just going to have you on again, because there are some areas that I want to explore deeper, and it's necessary. The New York Times just did an awesome story on family estrangement, which is major, and where people have said, bye-bye, you're crazy. Parents, kids severing from their parents, severing from each other. And the thing that was so unusual about this article, and I read it in its entirety, and then I read that the New York Times opened up for comments. Ooh, and there were thousands.
I believe.
I finally said, I can't read no more, because I'm starting to feel like the slasher. Only me, you know, because I didn't have that kind of family. But it was so amazing at how many people found that they were scripted into expectations based upon dysfunctional families, fathers, mothers, etc. And as a sidebar, because I want you to talk about that, I shared with my mother, because she was going through a thing with me about children not visiting their parents. And, you know, I've got friends that kids won't come by and see them. Their grown sons, daughters won't. And I told her, stop right now. I said, unless you were in that household, and unless you knew what those children were going through, you have no basis for concluding that the children don't care.
Exactly.
They probably do care, but they can't take it.
Exactly.
It's too much.
Exactly.
So would you talk about that?
Well, when we talk about the generational aspects of relationship, one of the things that I had to come to understand, and I'm going to speak about me right now, I had to understand that my dad did the best he could with what he had.
Okay.
If I hold him accountable to this new knowledge that I've grown to understand, and all this newness that I've grown to understand, if I hold him accountable to that, I've already set him up to fail. If I expect him to change that he's done all of his life because of this new stuff that I've learned, I set him up to fail again. And that animosity that's created between the kids now wanting their parents to be better, but the parents refusing because they're content with where they are.
Yeah. And they are.
The kids get frustrated, and they don't want to be bothered because they don't want to fit into this this confine anymore, because it's limited in its nature and its structure. So they separate from it because they've grown something so far greater. They've grown to understand something so far greater. There's a separation that comes because of a lack of embracement of differences.
So let me translate this. So if you grew up in a home where the father was extremely inflexible, the mother was the victim of emotional abuse by the spouse, the children got dragged along in it because it was all about all hail the king. And so the children are grown, and they scatter and they leave, and they don't want anything more to do. The mother's still with the father still is treating her the way he treated her when they were younger, and the children will not come around. Are you suggesting that the child is served by just saying that was then and this is their happiness, and I just have to accept it? What happens?
Well, the thing that happens is this. We begin to learn what unconditional love is now.
Ah, okay.
And when you can sit down and come back to the bad situation and still appreciate the individuals, you don't like what they do, but you deal with the individuals. When you can appreciate the individuals and show love to the individuals, but not participate in any of the activity, that's the true balance in how we come to the place where I don't like what you do, but I love you. And when we stand in that and we make our expressions to solidify the fact that I'm showing you love because I love you and appreciate you, But then when your behavior and all those things that I don't appreciate starts to show themselves, it's time for me to go. Why? Because I don't have an appreciation for those things. And when you make those things known, the thing that's not understood is there's going to be a change and an adjustment in the expression of the behavior that you say you don't like. Because the thing is, all parents want their kids to come home.
I believe that.
So now, if they become aware of the fact that they're doing something that makes you not want to be there, they'll make an adjustment.
You believe that?
Oh, I do. I've seen it happen. My mother did. Because, and I'll use this past year as the example. I went home this Thanksgiving, and this was the first year I went home for Thanksgiving in 20 years. And my mother's like, well, how come you don't come home for Thanksgiving? I said, well, Mama, you stopped cooking 20 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
You said all your kids was grown and you ain't cooking no more. And I said, well, if I'm gonna drive 4 hours to see my mama for Thanksgiving and do what I've become accustomed to doing, eating mama's good cooking for Thanksgiving, then that's all worth it. But now I'm gonna drive 4 hours to go get a pizza. I'm gonna drive 4 hours to go to Golden Corral.
Yeah, because they love Golden Corral.
And I'm like, I'm sorry. No. I come home because my mama cooked, and this is what I like. And if I can't have my mama's cooking, if I got to eat Golden Corral, I'm not going to drive 4 hours to eat Golden Corral. Because I can call you on the phone, Mama, and tell you Happy Thanksgiving, I love you. I don't have to drive 4 hours to tell you Happy Thanksgiving, I love you.
Got it.
So then you have those gestures of appreciation and love. And when Mama cooks Thanksgiving dinner, and we always say she put her foot in it.
Yes.
Her foot is that love.
Okay.
And we drive all this way to receive the love. And in the same time, we drive all this way to give the love and to show appreciation and how grand Mama, and we talk about and brag about Mama all day long. We talk about how she used to make miracles out of nothing, and we never went without. And all of those things are the reciprocative benefits of relationship. But if we don't get to the point where we understand where we are and where they are, they deserve to be where they are because they've endured and suffered to get what they have. And they've sacrificed to get what they have. Just because you've been blessed to have something greater, you don't look down on your parents and you don't separate yourself from your parents because now they don't fit your standard and they don't fit your statue anymore. No, you learn to appreciate that they had because had it not been for that they had,
I understand.
You wouldn't even be here. So now it's about coming off that high horse of pridefulness to understand, let's embrace differences. We don't have to embrace the behavior,
Okay.
but let's embrace the person. And in embracing the person, showing love to the person, appreciation to the person, and limiting the time you spend in all the other stuff, it sends a message.
Okay.
And the thing is, we have to be long-suffering enough to let them get the message. Because once they get, it took my mother 20 years to get the message.
But she got it.
She got it. She cooked, I went home. It took her 20 years to get it, because I was consistent. I ain't coming home. You ain't cooking, I ain't coming home. Nope. And the thing is, we have to understand that we love them from the capacity that they have the capacity to love. We share with them on the level of the capacity that they have to share. And we keep sharing something greater with the hopes that they actually start to gravitate to wanting something greater. And when an individual starts wanting something greater, they'll change the world to get it.
Oh, that's good news.
And all we have to do is stay steadfast and unmovable in our realm of love. And keep presenting to them this new realm of love, this expanded realm of love. And be patient enough to wait for them to get it. And if they don't ever get it, we still love them the same.
Okay.
Because it's not their fault.
Even if it means like, because what you're saying is very, it's radical. What you're saying is very radical based upon what I've read about people and the things that have happened to them in their lives with their family members. Thanksgiving is not a time of happiness and joy, but of pent up anger and frustration and things that are said that are just dreadful.
And in that instance, that is where this other ingredient that comes into relationship is crucial.
Okay.
And the major ingredient for relationship
Okay.
is communication.
So play it out. You've got Aunt Bessie, who's mean and a gossip. And then you've got your daddy, who is the epitome of self-serving and just downright ornery. And then you got your quiet, meek mother who jumps when he says boo. And then you got your brother who's a successful businessman, another brother who's nuts. And then there you are. What with that house of crazy people?
I bring in the question why.
Why is everybody crazy?
No, I make it individualized.
Okay.
Because the thing is, you come to the place where mama's the enduring one.
Yes.
So you say, Mama, why do you do the things you do? And when you come to understand why she does what she does, then you might have an appreciation for why she does it. Turn it around and ask Dad, even though he's mean and cruel. And Dad, why do you do some of the things that you do? And the thing is, in a lot of instances, they've never evaluated themselves.
They've never even looked at it.
Exactly. But when
know.
you ask the question why, you've just made them have to look back at themselves
and
think about it. And when they come to think about it and they come to realize there's really no reason why, other than the fact that they're still angry about something that happened way back here that they never forgave. And through the communicative aspect in that regard, you'll get to the root of that matter, and you can get Dad to go back and say, well, Dad, why don't you just forgive that and let it go? Because
Oh my
it
God,
really
wouldn't
ain't
that
that
be
serious.
beautiful?
It is beautiful. It's a wonderful thing.
That's my hope for relationships, and our time has run out, and I will say in advance that we're not finished with this topic.
Oh, no.
We've just begun to peel the onion, but one thing is for sure, we now know that you don't compromise. What you are is what you are, and what they are is what they are, and let them find their own.
Absolutely.
Let them find, as I say with the narcissist, find another narcissist. They're running, find you a female narcissist, find you a male, find you somebody that you can plunder while they're plundering you. And then for those who are not so inclined, stay true to your tribe.
Absolutely.
I think that's a good way to end this show. And on that note, I thank all of you all for being a part of our first conversation about relationships, good, bad, and ugly. I hope you got some insight on yourself and you will begin to self-examine yourself. Life is way too short to wind up in your 60s, 70s, and 80s still harboring hatred and mad about stuff and brooding about stuff and just being discontent. God has given us so much more that we can be excited about. And so on that note, I close out today's segment of The Power of Money with my guest, Dennis Hattchett, and look forward to you tuning in the future and being a part of this conversation. You take care, and God bless you. Bye-bye.